I've struggled my whole life with creating positive habits. I always have the goal that I wanted to achieve, but never really able to reach those goals comfortably. It was always a bit fuzzy or maybe a bit confusing on the path to get there. That's until I read a book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. Now, this book is one of those books I constantly read over and over again, but the critical points in it had changed the way I saw habit. Today, I'm going to be jumping into the world of habit creation and how we can conquer any habit you want if you follow these simple steps. Keep watching and I'll give you a step-by-step guide to conquer any habit that you want.
Go to concerts with your great-grandchildren. That's amazing.
Fear itself is a tremendously powerful lever. And when I say a lever, I mean a chemical lever.
It's not that they don't get heart attacks. They just don't get them when they're 65.
That a regular gratitude practice can enhance many, many aspects of our physical and mental health.
I mean, there is simply no better elixir for metabolic health than being active.
The journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. We've probably all heard that saying. It's a Chinese proverb. But what does that have to do with habits? When we set goals or have an objective that we want to achieve, we usually look at the final outcome of that goal. We want to lose 10 kilos, for example, or run a marathon or build a YouTube channel, like me. We focus on the end product, but rarely look at the steps to get there, or the efforts needed to get there. Atomic Habits kind of changed the way I looked at things. And I always reread this. I need to keep reminding myself of the key principles of habit creation. If these principles are followed, creating and sticking to a habit becomes very easy. Atomic Habits breaks it down for us. The term atomic means small yet powerful. Like atoms, tiny habits are the building blocks for massive achievements. It's not about sweeping changes, but about those little consistent actions that we take that reach us to our goals. Let's maybe pull back a bit and understand what are habits. A habit is a behavior that has been repeated enough times to be automatic. The more you do something, the more the brain learns to link the cues together and predict an outcome. Over time and with repetition, this becomes automatic and you don't have to think about it. We get that principle, but the process of building a habit can be divided up into 4 simple steps. Cue, craving, response, and rewards. So what does cue mean? Triggers your brain into doing an action as soon as it sees a cue that can get something it wants, which naturally leads to a craving. Craving is the motivational force behind a habit, the desire to obtain the reward you are predicting based on your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Now, response. The actual habit or action you take based on the cue and craving that you have. Whether you reach this step or not in a habit depends on how motivated you are and how automatic that behavior has become. And finally, the rewards. The end goal of every habit, the dopamine release of getting what you want and anticipate. Here's a simple example. You're stuck doing a difficult task at work, that's your cue. You want to relieve some frustration, which is the craving. You grab your phone and scroll through social media, the response. You satisfy that craving to feel relieved, and that's your reward. So, checking social media becomes associated with feeling stalled at work. You see how that works now? So how do we create a good habit? To do that, you need to understand the 4 steps mentioned and how they contribute to forming any good or bad habit you have. So, create a good habit, you must make it obvious, which is your cue, make it attractive, which is your craving, make it easy, which is your response, make it satisfying, which is your reward. The myth of drastic changes. Here's where we often go wrong, believing that significant change requires a drastic measure. In reality, it's the small daily improvements that are sustainable and truly transformative. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. The 1% improvement rule. Picture this. What if you improve in something every day by just 1%? It sounds modest, but over a year, that's a 37 times improvement in any area of life. Small steps, huge impact. You want to lose 10 kilos of fat? Let's start with a half a kilo a week and build on that. You want to build a YouTube channel? Let's post our first video. You want to run a marathon? Let's run 1K and build on that. Instead of obsessing over goals, focus on systems. Shifting focus from goals to systems. And this is one of the principles that really changed the way I thought about habits. So instead of obsessing over goals, focus on systems. It's these systems, the processes you follow every day that lead to achieving those big goals. It's about the journey, not just the destination. I've said this many times in my previous videos that if you don't fall in love with the process, reaching that goal becomes very difficult. If I don't enjoy the process of script writing and filming and editing, the likelihood of me reaching my goal of 100,000 subscribers will be virtually impossible. Same goes for fat loss. If you don't enjoy changing your life, eating better food, understanding your body more, the 10 kilos will be a very steep uphill battle. There's a book I read a while ago that talked about enjoying the journey more than reaching the goal. The author drew parallels to climbing a mountain. If you're obsessed with reaching the peak, once you get there, the satisfaction of what you've achieved will be short-lived. But if you enjoy the journey up the mountain, observing the animals, the trees, the landscape, reaching the peak will be much more satisfactory because of the journey that you've taken. Reaching the peak will be much more satisfactory because the journey becomes the focal point and not the peak. Individuals embodying various lifestyles and habits. Think about the person you want to become. What habits do they have? It's not just about hitting a target, it's about embodying the traits and habits that align with our desired identity. Think about this for a second. If you identify as an unhealthy person, the likelihood of you eating junk is a lot higher. If you see yourself as a healthy person, even if you are overweight, you are embracing the journey and not the final goal of losing fat. And you will make the right choices most of the time. Take a smoker, for example, that is trying to quit smoke. If they never see themselves as a non-smoker, once the opportunity to smoke comes up, they will likely take it because they will see themselves as smokers. And they haven't left that mindset yet. So believe that you are the person and live the life that they would and make the same decisions that they would. After all, a marathon runner wouldn't skip an opportunity to run. So now that we have the theory out of the way, let's look at the practical ways of creating a habit. Step 1, make it obvious. Automatic habits often go unnoticed. So the first step to change is awareness. Adjust your environment to make good habits more visible and bad habits less so. For instance, if you want to start a new habit, set a specific time and place for it or link it to an existing habit. Possibly after work, you decide that you go to the gym. That is the time dedicated to going to the gym. Step 2, make it attractive. Dopamine, the motivational chemical, makes habits attractive. Combine a habit you need to do with one you want to do. For instance, pair a post-workout walk with listening to your favorite podcast. Surrounding yourself with people who share your desired habits can also make them more appealing. Step 3, make it easy. Simplify habits to overcome the inertia of start. The 2-minute rule is something I've spoken about before. Scale down new habits to 2 minutes or less and see how it goes from there. Like reading 1 page instead of a chapter. If you make it into smaller chunks, it becomes a lot easier for you to actually stick to. The goal is to master the habit of showing up, making it easier to expand on it later. Step number 4, make it satisfying. Immediate rewards make habits stick, as we often prioritize short-term pleasure. Immediate rewards make habits stick, as we often prioritize short-term pleasure. Create immediate satisfaction for good habits and immediate consequences for bad ones. Tracking progress in a habit journal or having an accountability partner can also enhance the satisfaction of sticking to a habit. Just to round everything up here, Atomic Habit teaches us that small changes are not just effective, they are everything. Embracing the power of tiny habits and watch how they transform your life. I wanted to share this with you because it has changed a lot for me in terms of setting up good habits, and we always think about the final result and we never think about the path to get there. And breaking those into smaller steps that you barely feel will reach that goal a lot more efficient and a lot faster. So thanks for tuning in. If you're ready to embark on this journey of small changes with big impacts, give this video a like. Just remember that it's the little habits that make big dreams a reality. And we are out. See you next week.